I mean, we have Brooksby Farm that is a locally run business, and business is business, and they have sales, and it's recreational. So I'm just wondering, why had we thought of, I know we didn't discuss it at the time, because I didn't think of it at the time, but so be it. I feel like discussing it now. Would it be opportune for us to instead use individuals already on staff that have this talent and skills, that are already on salary, to have somebody who runs a business like this to do the audit, instead of paying $15,000 to have someone from the outside come in and do the audit? To me, you know, we have the rink and the Brooksby Farm that's run. They're both athletic businesses and have sales, and so I just thought, if we already have people on staff that do this, why would we go outside and hire it? So I just kind of wanted to have that discussion tonight, get my colleagues' thoughts on that.
I think initially when the $5,000 number was put out there, I think that was just an estimate of what it might cost for such a review. And when we actually put in a limited scope together of what we wanted to accomplish, the prices came back in as what they were. And to answer your other question, I believe we wanted another set of eyes to look at this outside of the city that was expert in a golf course operation versus just a general retail operation.
Thank you. Because, I mean, auditors are auditors, CPAs are CPAs, and numbers are numbers, and, you know, money spent is money spent. So I just thought we probably have people on staff that could easily do this. And my other point for discussion would be, whichever way we go on this, if the council chooses to hire this outside vendor for $15,000 to do this work, what assurances are we going to get from the city that we're going to follow these recommendations? Let's say we get these recommendations, and then someone in the city says, well, I don't like these recommendations, and we're not going to follow them. So that's where I'm at with this. I mean, we don't know what the report is going to tell us. I mean, it's going to come up with recommendations, but how are we going to ensure that these recommendations, if agreed upon, are followed so that we can have a successful golf course and a productive business up there? Again, we do have successful and productive Brooksby Farm and the skating rink already on within the city that are run well. So I just don't know why we're going outside for that amount of money. And what assurances are we going to get that we're going to follow recommendations from an outside vendor? Thank you.
Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I couldn't agree with you more, Councilor, on the last point that you make, that we could have the audit done, we could have recommendations, and take no action. I would like to think that we should get a commitment from somebody in that regard. On the first part of your recommendation, as Mr. Gingras said, I really believe that, like any business, I think the golf side of it will be accentuated by the company, and recommendations will be golf-related, food-related, as opposed to the Brooksby Farm employees coming in and doing the audit without any expertise in golf. So I really believe that the golf will be the flavor of the audit, but I definitely agree with you that if we don't get something, a commitment, then we're just going to not do anything. More than likely not do anything. I like to think otherwise, but so I agree with you and disagree with you, but thank you.
If you don't mind, he's not on the committee, but he had his hand up. Councilor Sasslaw.
Thank you, Council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I just had a quick question from of Mike. Mike, so did we take you just said the 3 different proposals and the amounts, so we took the lowest?
That's correct.
Okay. So my only question, what I would like to have seen, and I think would have been helpful, is I see a letter from the company that's submitting it with their project scope. I assume that we put out a bid, a request for some type of a study, but I don't see that here. And so, not that I'm not happy taking the lowest bid, but the question is it's hard. I have no idea if the other bid for, I think you used the word $19,000, is more comprehensive, less comprehensive. So to sit there as a counselor and to vote for something and not to see what the request was and to see what came back and to just put their bid with their price, to me, is a lack of information. So for what it's worth in the future, if you're going to put out something for bid, I'd like to see the request that we put out for bid and then see the proposals that come back, because without seeing the other two proposals, I have no idea if, I know $15,000 is the cheapest or the least expensive, but the proposal for $19,000 or $23,000, what did that have that this didn't? And I'd like to be able to assess that myself. So that's my only comment and my disappointment in what I see, what we're provided with here tonight.
Councilor Charis. Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Councilor Manning, just through memory, with talking to Councilor Sinowitz at the time, I guess these are done quite often at most golf courses. They hire very similar companies, and that's where he actually came up with the idea. He talked to a golf pro from and manager at Old Newbury Golf Course, and they had just done one. And that's when he started to look into these different companies. So I think that's where it comes from, and like I said, I think most do it on a 5-year schedule, where they have somebody come in and look at their revenues and if they're actually producing up to where they should be. So that's why it's here.
Councilor Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for letting me speak. I appreciate that, Councilor Turco, because I wasn't sure, what was the origin of this. But to answer, I guess, some of the concerns that Councilor Manning Martin had, I had the same. But part of the scope says that the deliverables are going to be internal review of strengths and weaknesses of the operation. And then at the end, they talk about delivering the contractor, if you will, Niblick Golf, is going to deliver multiple copies of the report, meet with the town's golf committee, and then have a public forum and have their findings. So I think that gets at the concern that, some of us have, that like, okay, we have this $15,000 study and it just goes in a draw. So I think that answers my concern. Thank you.
Councilor McGinn. You have any? I know you came in late. I just want to give you an opportunity to ask any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did come in 5 minutes late, so I apologize for that. Just with respect to the completeness of the package, I just want to be careful that we're not setting a precedent here for micromanaging what's going on from a purchasing perspective. I mean, we've got some other items tonight with respect to equipment at Brooksby Farm and so forth, that are we going to want to see the RFPs that go out for every piece of equipment? Are we going to want to see all the bids? Maybe some councilors would like to see that level of detail. I'd like to believe that we've got a professional staff here that is capable of wading through that. The specific council request here was to get a third-party review of the course, and I think that's what they've endeavored to do. So I'm comfortable with the process, and I would plan to support the transfer. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman McGinn, and I appreciate your comments. I didn't want to point out. I just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity. You are on the committee, so I hadn't appointed anybody in your behalf, so that's why. Any other comments from the council? I would just make a couple, only because I know sometimes for people who are not in the consulting business, you see a number like $15,000 and it seems like a lot of money. If you translate that to what an average consultant rate per hour, typically it's anywhere from $185 to $200 per hour for services. It is probably in that ballpark the right amount of money for the effort, where they're talking about they're going to go to different courses, they're going to analyze how those courses are run, they're going, that takes time, effort, and energy. And then they're going to compile their findings, and, I also understand, because I deal with it all the time, people will say the same thing to me, well, why should we hire you? What do you know about such and such? And if I don't have any experience in a certain area, they won't hire me. But if you have experience in something, you've put in a lot of time analyzing things that internal people wouldn't analyze. For instance, an auditor is not, typically these folks are not auditors. They're really typically analysts, more business professionals. They look at things in a different way. They're problem solvers. I wouldn't even know how to start to calculate yield management at a golf course. I just wouldn't know how to start. I'd know how to, figure out how much you can get per hour, but I don't know how to competitively measure if that's right or wrong, or, where you can tweak and what you can. And that's kind of what you're counting on these people to do, is to bring knowledge that they have from other places into their analysis, understand what's going on, and then give you recommendations based upon experiences that they've had in other places. So, well, you can do it, you can do anything that a consultant does can be done internally. It's just a matter of, whether or not you're looking at the forest or the trees. And the people inside tend to look at the trees, and the people from the outside tend to look at the forest. And again, they're bringing experience from all sorts of places. So I certainly hear your concern, Councilman Martin, and I wish I had a buck for every time that concern was brought to me. I wouldn't have to work anymore. But I don't find this to be totally out of range. It is interesting, they proposed a fixed fee. That's to their risk, because if you demand more work, they have to provide it without being paid on a clock. A lot of studies like this will typically be done by the hour and with a minimum set. And if it happens to take them 150 hours to do the study, and you demand more information or a deeper dig, they're gonna have to pay for it. It's gonna lower their yield per hour. The other thing that your other comment about, it's true that there is one thing in there that you could come up with a lot of recommendations that maybe you don't like, or some people don't like, and you don't have to enact them, but at least I mean, they give you alternatives and you can select. So I have less concern about it. It's coming out of retained earnings. I think it drives to the point that people were making before about, we want to have an understanding of how we can make this a more profitable operation. There was concern that we weren't going to make it through another year and we'd have to borrow money, and so I think this is a good right course of action to go forward and understand it, and come up with a set of metrics, and then listen to what they have to say, and then deal with it. So, anyway, those are my comments on it. And
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I may, thank you. And to your point that it's open-ended, I don't think that was your term, but I think that's what you were trying to point out, is that that they may have offered an open-ended contract that wouldn't behoove them. But as Counselor from Ward 6 points out, that the deliverables is a quote that is up to 2 half-day post-completion meetings with the town or the golf course officials to discuss the reports and how to implement the improvements. So that they do have an end date. They're only going to offer 2 follow-ups. But as Councilor Gould understood what I was saying, is it's not the vendor or the auditor that I'm concerned with that isn't going to follow up. Although they're only offering us 2 follow-ups, it is that the city is going to follow up with the recommendations of this $15,000 commitment that we're making. Those are my points, and thank you very much.
And only to provide clarification. He's talking about a fixed fee contract, not an open-ended contract. So he's saying that for $15,000, he's going to do whatever it takes to complete this, which will include 2 sessions. Let's say after your first session, you decide you need more information. Under a fixed fee contract, he has to go out and get that information before he provides a second meeting. Let's say he delivers the draft. We do these all the time. You deliver the draft report, and there's a lot of information inside the draft report that you don't even get to the meeting because somebody wants you to drill down on that information. As soon as you do that, that person's got to go back out there, and it's hours of time that they have to do that. That's the concept of fixed fee, which is kind of unusual for this type of project. I know I wouldn't bid it this way, but I mean, that's the way it, obviously, they know their stuff, so they want to bid the way they want to bid, but that's all I meant by it. Councilors, what do you want to do with it? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move to approve the transfer request of $15,000 from the golf retained earnings account to the $15,000 to the professional services account. So moved.
You've heard the motion from Councilor McGinn on the transfer. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors McGinn,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
No.
Turco,
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Next item on the agenda is the transfer of funds regarding Brooksby Farm. Mr. Gingrich.
Thank you. Typically, we come to you at the end of the year for a transfer for part-time wages and overtime so that we can utilize some of the funds in Brooksby revolving to cover those costs. And that's the $38,000 request for this year. Last year, we requested $45,000, so it's a little bit less this year.
Questions from the council? No questions? Councilor Gould.
Mr. Chairman, move to transfer from Brooksby Farm revolving account 2600000035603, the amount of $38,000 to Brooksby part-time wages, account number 100-06620-51120, in the amount of $22,000, and also Brooksby overtime, account 100-06620-51130, in the amount of $16,000. So moved.
On the motion, discussion, seeing none, roll call.
Councilors McGinn,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Next item on that is the capital equipment. Mr. Gingrich.
Thank you. Brooksby Farm is requesting a transfer from revolving to fund the acquisition of a new refrigeration truck to help with their wholesale business and operations. And Joanne Roden's here to, if you have any questions.
Councilors, questions? Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Of Joanne, if I could, please. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Can you tell us, because I'm not sure most of us are aware of what type of retail operation we have, where we go, what we do, that this truck will provide refrigeration for us, please? Thank you.
Our wholesale business is a lot of the small grocery stores in the area. We do a lot of the Crosby markets, McKinnon's. We also do a lot of the local schools, Whole Foods, and probably a handful of others, restaurants, all around Peabody, Danvers, Hamilton, Manchester, Andover, Swampscott, Melrose.
So, Joanne, is it a variety of products or one particular product that drives it?
Cider is one of our biggest products. Apples right behind that, peaches behind that, and then mixed vegetables, all your garden vegetables.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Turco?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joanne, I'm just, in reading this, Mr. Gingrich has it listed as a new truck, and obviously it's a 2014, and in your request it says refurbished truck. So do we have any concerns about it being refurbished? Is there any warranty involved with the truck, or, I mean...
I can get you the information on that. I believe there is a warranty, and then we can get an extended warranty if we wanted to.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Manning Martin, did you have a hand up before? No. Any other questions? Being none, Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the transfer of funds from the Brooksby Farm revolving account number 260-00000-35603 in the amount of $64,000 to capital equipment account number 300-94218-5850-2018-00-00-00-6620 in the amount of $64,000. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
On the motion, any discussion? No further discussion. Roll call.
Councilors McGinn,
Yes.
Gould, Manning Martin,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
We're at item C on the agenda, transfer of funds regarding CPA open space, CPA housing. Mr. Gingrich.
Thank you. This is a transfer request to utilize community preservation funds to help supplement some of the funding for the dog park. And to date, we've gotten $200,000 in from the Stanton Foundation to go towards that project.
Councilor's question, Councilor Manning Martin.
Yes, thank you. And I don't know who would be able to answer this question. Anyone that's been highly involved or following this project, maybe they could enlighten me. $200,000 for a dog park. I'm just curious. And that's a donation from an outside foundation. I get that. It just sounds like a colossal project outside of grass and a fence and water. I don't know what a dog park would entail that requires this amount of commitment. So monetary commitment. Is anyone following? Has anyone followed this project?
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to Councilor Manning Martin. Yeah, this is a transfer request coming from the CPC, and I was at the CPC meetings when this application was vetted, and they had similar questions with respect to the overall budget. But the explanation that we got, there is a structure involved with this, so it's not just a fence and grass. In fact, there's no grass. There's some specialized surface that needs to go down that's expensive. There was some question as to whether there would actually be sufficient funds to do 2 parks. That's not the case. And in fact, the conditions of the third-party Stanton Foundation, I believe it is, grant required that it all be spent at this one location. So the CPC, again, having raised similar questions, was comfortable with the explanation that they received at the meeting.
Thank you. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, and with respect to liability and maintenance, the city would be responsible for any liability and insurance and maintenance, right? The grant monies that will be or have been awarded wouldn't cover any of that. Is that correct?
Well, there's 2 parts to your question. Liability, I believe the answer is yes to that, but that would fall under the same liability that we have for all our parks, so there's no real incremental costs associated with that, to the best of my knowledge. With respect to maintenance, I believe there is a maintenance component of the overall budget. So,
That would fall under Parks and Recs, probably, right? Well, okay, thank you very much, but I would, since there are animals involved, I just didn't know what type of insurance we would have. The other parks, you know, I know the skate park and the skating rink are physical activities, and that would fall under some type of insurance, but I do not know. That's why I'm asking if anyone is aware, if it's been discussed about liabilities of dogs, whether they're pit bulls or whether they, because, you know, if you own property and you rent to people, they have to buy, if they have pit bulls of certain, if they have dogs of certain breeds, they have to buy insurance in case something happens, or a lot of people won't let them rent their property. So there's just different levels of insurance that are involved with animals, and certainly dogs or pit bulls or things that fall into that breed. So I'm wondering what type of level of liability and insurance we have with respect to entering into this agreement with the grant money and furthering with our own funds into the dog park, if you would know that, Mr. Gingrich.
I believe our existing insurance would pretty much cover it without incremental increases, but we may have to give notification to the insurance company as having a dog park, and so that they're aware of it.
And when is the dog park supposed to open up?
I'm not 100% sure, but Councilor McGinn may know.
through you to, Mr. Chairman, through you to Councilor Manning Martin, I don't know the opening ribbon cutting date for the open park, but there is a ribbon cutting groundbreaking next week, I believe, on the 30th, so that's when it begins. 3 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll hope that our insurance company has been apprised and adjustments have been made and we're covered. Thank you.
Further questions? Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move to approve the transfer from the Community Preservation Act open space account in the amount of $11,000 to the Community Preservation Act Peabody Dog Park in the amount of $11,000. So moved.
You've heard the motion by Councilor McGinn. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors McGinn,
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Next item on that request was the Community Development Housing Production Plan. Mr. Gingrich.
Thank you. This is a request to transfer money to do the housing production plan, hiring a consultant to do that. I believe we have someone here from community development if there are any questions.
Councilor Manning Martin.
Thank you. I know that when we most recently had our a subcommittee meeting on affordable housing and 40B, and we got a presentation from several departments within the city, and the housing development plan was on its 4th year, and they noted that we have to re-up and do one this year, and it was very comprehensive and it was good. I'm wondering who did that one, and do we generally go out and hire a consultant to do that? Because again, I'm wondering why we aren't requiring this of our department heads and internally, why they're not doing this job. It just seems, you know, we're spending $19,000 to go out for another consultant. The last one was $15,000, now we're $19,000, and I'm wondering why we're not doing these things internally and requiring them of our department heads or within the department, given the staff that we have and their expertise and, you know, what we expect of them.
I'm not sure what happened 4 years ago. I can investigate that for you. And I think, again, this is another situation where it takes some expertise in this area. And I'm sure there's some legalities involved, too.
Is there anybody from community development here?
Drew, you have any idea? No.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to Councilor Manning Martin. Again, this was, in that this was a community preservation issue. I was at the meeting where this was discussed. And although the specific matter of in-house versus third-party to do it was not addressed that I can recall, your specific question, you know, I would agree with Mr. Gingras' comment that there is kind of a level of expertise required here. You're right. The last plan was fairly comprehensive and thorough, and it would be my impression that we don't have the in-house capability to produce the report to that level. This is the housing production plan can provide safe harbor protection under 40B. If we can certify to the housing production plan, but it needs, the plan itself needs to be fairly airtight in terms of how it's structured, so that it can hold up to the scrutiny of the state law. So, again, I don't have the specific answer to your question because that matter was not discussed when the Ms. Burdenson presented this to the CPC. But I do think that Mr. Gingras' comment is accurate from my perspective. Thank you.
So, Manning Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for that input, Mr. McGinn. I tend to think that we do have the in-house capability. I think we have really talented individuals that we hire for their expertise and their excellence in their field, and they're well compensated for it. And I'm just starting to see a trend that which seem to be going out a lot instead of in-house. When I think that we do have talented people that can do more if we ask more and ask them to produce these type of reports. I think they're absolutely competent and skilled in doing so, and would save us some money, and I'm sure produce equally excellent reports. Thank you.
Other councilors, Councilor Mitsoulas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not on this committee, and what brought me to this committee this evening was, tell you the truth, I don't know everything that goes on in these committees, but when something strikes my fancy, I get a little interested, and I show up at these meetings. I kind of go along with Annie. I'd like to see this in-house. The in-house knows what's going on in the city, and they have a better feel of exactly what the neighborhoods are, exactly where the business locations are, the residential locations, who wants to stay a business, who wants to change, and then we have to take into consideration the councilors who are going to be fighting these issues when applications for 40Bs start coming into the city, and they're going to be coming shortly, I can tell you that right now. So I'd like to have the most experienced people, the people that are familiar with this city, knowing what to do and what recommendations to make. I really don't want to see outsiders telling Peabody where they should put a 40B or make a suggestion of take Councilor Turco's ward or Councilor McGinn or myself, because we're all susceptible to this coming into our wards, and we're not prepared for this fight, because the truth is that we don't have enough knowledge ourselves as councilors on 40B itself. And that is what I made a motion on a while ago, to have somebody with the expertise to come into this council and explain to us city councilors what the qualifications are, what how much land you need to develop a 40B, how many units can go in. You know, these are all issues that myself, I've been concerned with for almost 40 years now, and I still don't have the answers. So I think it's time to start educating this council. And again, I agree with Councilor Manning. The people I trust are the people that work in this city. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Mitsoulas. Appreciate your comments. And I would accept a motion to defer action on this until somebody from community development can come in and answer these questions.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I think ultimately they have a responsibility if they want the money to be transferred and to take the action, then they should be here to defend it and request it. So I've got a motion from Council Gould. Discussion on the motion?
Yes, on the motion, I understand and I agree with it, and I'll go with it. But I just wanted to let you know that the current housing production plan for the city, I believe, expires July 1st. So we're in a tight time frame. So if we can get that back on before finance quickly, I think it might be better suited for all of us.
Well, we'll certainly be meeting with finance the next few weeks, so they can come on in. I have no objection to bringing them here. So I hear you, though, and we'll get it here quickly. We'll make sure we have, we'd like with the motion that Council Gould's making, to have the Director of Community Development here, as well as any support staff, to provide us information about the current plan, who did it, answer the questions that Council Manning Martin had, so that they know what they're facing. Is it okay with that, Council Gould? Okay, so on the motion to defer action to the next Finance Committee meeting, any further discussion? Being none, all in favor, any opposed, a vote. Item D on the agenda is the transfer of funds regarding cemetery capital equipment. Mr. Gingrich?
Thank you. Mr. Cronin is here, and he's requesting transfer from sale of lots to capital to fund equipment purchase, repairs and renovations for upgrades at the cemetery.
Councilors? Council Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to take a moment to commend Mr. Cronin for all the work that he does in creating a showpiece that we all are very proud of here in the city in Cedar Grove Cemetery. It will be on display in full glory this weekend. Mr. Cronin does a wonderful job, and I fully support his request for capital improvement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further comments? Seeing none, Council Gould.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to transfer from the cemetery sale of lots and graves, account number 270-33006, in the amount of $65,000 to cemetery capital improvement account number 3000491 in the amount of $65,000. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
You've heard the motion by Councilor Gould. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call.
Councilors McGinn.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
The last item on the agenda has been requested to be withdrawn for the moment until we have further information, so we'll
Adjourn,
we'll
Mr.
defer. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Come to order.
Tonight, we're very fortunate to have a person who's from the community who started off at the schools as a PTO mom, PTO president for decades, has been volunteer in so many different events here in Peabody, has put our Ugly Mugs pictures on Facebook at different events, is truly a person who loves this city, loves what she does, loves her family and friends. Cheryl Millard, again, a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a very, very close friend to, I probably would say, almost every one of us here. And what she does here to represent the city as an ambassador for the good things that happen here in Peabody. I would welcome Cheryl Millard to lead us in the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us have a moment of silence. And now, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Approval of the record, Mr. President.
Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. And one other thing I would like to just put out there. Tonight would be the last meeting that the Salem News reporter, Mary, who's done, I think, a fantastic job covering the events here in Peabody, who has really changed, I think, the attitude of Salem News towards Peabody and being very positive. She's off to a new job in Boston, and I think we all wish her the very best luck in her new job, and certainly we're going to miss her smiling face sitting here at the council meeting. So, Mary, congratulations and good luck. I just wanted the statement: this meeting is being televised live on cable channel 9 and being taped by a Peabody Access TV, and also being recorded by our city council stenographer. We'll move to hearings. Can we take out of order and go to 4D with any objections? Any objections? Would the petitioner please come to the podium? And just please state your name and address for the record.
For the record, my name is Ted Regnante, and I'm an attorney in Wakefield, and I represent the petitioner, East Boston Savings Bank. And with me is Keith Armstrong, who is the Executive Vice President of East Boston Savings Bank. So with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I would like to respectfully request that this matter be continued until the next hearing of the City Council, which I believe is June 14th. And the reason for this request is that we'd like to have the opportunity to spend some time with the abutters in the area and with Councilor Saslaw to look at some of the issues that have been recently raised, so that hopefully we can address concerns that neighbors and Councilor Saslaw has. So I'd like to respectfully request that continuance.
Councilor Saslaw, excuse me.
Yes, that'd be fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, next meeting will be the 14th? Yes. Councilor, would like to make a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion on the special permit for East Boston Savings Bank, 598 Lowell Street, to have a continuance and have the special permit hearing at the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Peabody City Council on June 14, 2018. So move.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, councilors.
Moving to 4A, special permit. Would the petitioner please come to the podium and state your name and address? Clerk, would you please read the notice?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 24, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. in the Wiggin Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass. On the application from MEC Peabody Associates Limited Partnership, 33 Boylston Street, Chestnut Hill, Mass. For a special permit requesting to locate a women's physical fitness facility and Child Enrichment Center, the operator to be a Mom's Village LLC, who will occupy a portion of the former TJ Maxx space at 635-637 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Edward R. Charest, City Council President.
Good evening. Would the petitioners please state their name and address?
Yes, Dan Hester, WS Development, 33 Boylston Street, Newton, Massachusetts. And with me I have from Mom's Village, Stephanie Cohan and Cindy Solomon. You guys want to give your address?
Sure. It's 637 Lowell Street in West Peabody.
We're here today seeking approval for a special permit for a Mom's Village use. I do work for the landlord and the developer of the property, so if you have any property-specific questions, I'm happy to answer any of those. If you have any business-related questions, you can direct those to Stephanie and Cindy. They'll be happy to help you. So what we're here for today, we are finally looking at redemising and repositioning the old TJ Maxx box, which was approximately 25,000 square feet. A Mom's Village would, what you say, would be taking what was the old back of that space. We are converting that to a new front while taking advantage of the new Crystal Lake project, which has allowed us to turn that side face into an actual storefront. So we will be adding a new sidewalk that allows pedestrians to traverse all the way from Big Y at the far corner of the site all the way over to Mom's Village, really helping to connect the entire site together and really taking advantage of Crystal Lake. We are also hoping to continue to, we're up here for 3 petitions today, including this one, so we can talk more about that. All deliveries and loading will be done through the back. We did receive some comments from community development. We have also met with our counselor, ward counselor, Mark O'Neill, in advance to run through any concerns that anyone has. I'll let Stephanie and Cindy talk about the business, and then if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer those for you.
Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, we received a late communication today at about 10:04 from Stephanie Herbster. I object and don't want to accept this communication. Thank you.
Anything else you would like to ask?
Yeah, I just want to comment that Mr. Hester commented these folks already have a business in that retail plaza. They came before this council in September for a special permit to have a temporary location, and business is doing well, and their plan all along was to hopefully take a large portion of that formerly TJ Maxx retail location. I don't have any concerns or questions at this time, so if you want to open up to the oh, sorry, public.
Yeah. No problem. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who would like to speak in favor? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Any opposition? Counselor, are you finished? We can open up to the counselors?
Yeah.
Any other counselors who would like to speak? Any others? Counselor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to close the public hearing.
You heard the motion. All in
So
favor?
moved. Sorry.
Excuse me?
I should have said move to close the public hearing. So moved.
No problem. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
I have to make a motion, don't I? Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to move to approve the special permit to locate a women's physical fitness facility and child enrichment center operating as a mom's village, who will occupy a portion of the former TJ Maxx space at 635 to 637 Lowell Street, Peabody. So moved.
You heard the motion. Roll call, please.
Councilors O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Sasla,
Yes.
Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Rozignol,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Gravel,
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
Thank you. Congratulations. I'd like to go to 4B. Would the clerk please read the notice?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 24, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. in the Wiggin Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., on the application from MEC Peabody Associates Limited Partnership, 33 Boylston Street, Chestnut Hill, Mass., for a special permit requesting to locate an office of a dentist, the operator to be Lakeshore Dental, who will occupy 2150 square feet of a portion of the former TJ Maxx space at 635-637 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Edward R. Charist, City Council President.
Would the petitioner please state your name and address for the record, and what you would like to do?
Dan Hester from WS Development, 33 Boylston Street, Newton, Massachusetts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and the council again for hearing the second of three today. Mr. Din, the operator, was unable to make it today. He is unfortunately out of the country, but he does send his regards. Lakeshore Dental will be a family practice dentist. They're taking approximately 2,150 square feet, which space will be directly adjacent to T&L Liquors, an existing retailer at the shopping center. Here, all loading will be done through the rear as necessary and as requested by the Community Development Director. We still are maintaining that loading area that was for TJ Maxx. If there are any questions, happy to answer those for you.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor? Anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I met with the Din family, Mr. And his son, Min, and I just want to note that in the application for the special permit, the hours were to be determined, and that, was a concern to me, but he is opening up this dental practice from the ground floor, so it's a startup. So the hours are going to be somewhat fluid, obviously general business hours, but he's going to, build this from scratch. So that's why it shows currently to be determined, but we are going to have normal business hours for that retail location. And then I also do want to mention that in the package that the council has received prior to the meeting was communication 8H relating to, from the Department of Community Development and Planning, where they talked about each of these special permits tonight, the four of them, although we're only dealing with three tonight.
Do you want to receive that?
Move to receive.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to close the public hearing. So moved.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I'd like to move to approve the special permit to locate an office of a dentist known as Lakeshore Dental, who will occupy a 21,150 square foot of a portion of the former TJ Maxx space at 635 to 637 Lowell Street, Peabody, with the following condition. Condition 1, all loading and unloading for this business will be done at the rear dock of the property. So moved.
You heard the motions. Roll call, please.
Councilors O'Neill. McGinn.
Yes.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Yes.
Mitsoulas.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Rozignol.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
4C, would the clerk please read the notice?
Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Peabody, acting as a special permit granting authority, will conduct a public hearing on Thursday evening, May 24, 2018, at 7:30 p.m. in the Wiggin Auditorium, City Hall, 24 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., on the application from MEC Peabody Associates Limited Partnership, 33 Boylston Street, Chestnut Hill, Mass., for a special permit requesting to locate a business that serves food for off-premises consumption, the operator to be Edible Arrangements, who will occupy 1,600 square feet of a portion of the former TJ Maxx space at 635-637 Lowell Street, Peabody, Mass., as filed in accordance with sections 4.2.5, 6.1, and 15.7 of the Peabody zoning ordinance. Peabody City Council, Councilor Edward R. Charis, City Council President.
Would the petitioner please state their name and address for the record, and what you'd like to do?
Dan Hester from WS Development, 33 Boylston Street, Newton, Massachusetts. We're here today seeking approval for Edible Arrangements to take approximately 1,600 square feet within the old TJ Maxx space. They will be occupying the space directly adjacent to Lakeshore Dental. If you're standing in the parking lot, you'd be looking to your left, which is where Edible Arrangements would go. I do have Nick DeLeva, who's the owner and operator of Edible Arrangements. If you do have any questions regarding the business, again, all loading will be done through the rear, as stated through the community development notice. If there are any questions, happy to answer them for you.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor? Anyone in the audience in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just commented Mr. DeLever. We met with him the other day. He does currently operate an Edible Arrangement location in Peabody near Bourbon Street, off Bourbon Street, and he's moving to this location for more space, if you will. Move to close the public hearing. So moved.
Before you close, Councilor Sassola.
Thank you. I just wanted to congratulate Nick. Nick's been in the business, had his business in Peabody for 10 years. And anytime we can have a business that is successful, number one, and number two, is going to expand and want to stay in the city, I want to say thank you. I know you are well known in the community, and I'm sure there's very few of us, if anybody, who's never eaten one of your pieces of fruit. So I want to wish you good luck in your new location, and I'm looking forward to coming down and grabbing a smoothie or two. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone else? Councilor Melville.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to make one comment. We're hearing a lot about how retail clothing and everything, there's issues there, and that those businesses are falling, and that we have to start converting. I think what we're seeing tonight is we have 3 petitions for special permits to fill a space that was an anchor tenant for one of our unique, for lack of a better word, business areas. And I think it's a real credit to the community and to the city itself, and how desirable it is to not only attract internal businesses back to areas of where we're really going to need those spots to be filled, but also with the current occupant of that to convert their area that would make sense for the economy that we live in today. So I just wanted to give some kudos to that, because it's a real question that a lot of communities are facing, and the fact that we're taking it on and doing so in an open and in a way that we're encouraging businesses to come into those areas, I think is great. So that's just my comment on that. Thank you.
Any other councilors? I would only say that I'm sorry you're actually leaving Ward 4, but I'm happy you're staying within the city and just moving a couple wards up. I'm sure Mr. O'Neill will be a great representative for you and you as a councilor, so please reach out to him anytime you. Thank you. Close public.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to close the public hearing. So moved.
So moved. You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor No.
At this time, I'd like to move to approve the special permit to locate a business that serves food for off-premises consumption to be known as Edible Arrangements, who will occupy a 1,600 square foot portion of the former TJ Maxx space at 635 to 637 Lowell Street, Peabody. Condition number 1, all loading and unloading for this business will be done at the rear dock of the property. So moved.
You heard the motion. Roll call?
Councilors O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Yes.
Sasla,
Yes.
Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Rosagno,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Gravel,
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 11 to nothing.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Move to reports of committee. Finance Committee, Councilor Gravel.
Thank you, Council President. This evening there was a meeting of the Finance Committee. Sitting as the chair will be myself. Also present were Councilor Gould, Councilor Manning Martin, Councilor McGinn, and Councilor Turco. On behalf of the committee, all other councilors were also available for discussion and participated. The first item on the agenda was transfer of funds regarding the golf course. Specifically, that was a request to have a consultant come in and do a review of the operation of the golf course and they provided us with a fixed fee bid of $15,000. Motion was made and approved on a vote of 4-1. The motion from that is that we were going to move $15,000 from the golf retained earning account, which is account 440-000-31-101, to professional services, which is account 440-6998-53010, in the same amount of $15,000. So moved.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilors O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Sasla,
No.
Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Manning Martin. This is on the golf course transfer.
No.
Rosagno,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Melville,
Yes.
Gravel,
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-2.
Thank you, Council President. The next item on the agenda was a transfer of funds regarding Brooksby Farm. There were actually two items that were looking for a transfer request. The first item was a transfer request from the farm revolving account, which is in the amount of $38,000 to be broken up into two portions: the part-time wages in the amount of $22,000 and overtime wages in the amount of $16,000. That motion was approved unanimously. The actual motion was to move funds from 260-000-35603 in the amount of $38,000 to Brooksby part-time wages, account 100-06-620-51-120, the amount of $22,000, and Brooksby overtime, account number 100-06-620-51-130, in the amount of $16,000. So moved.
Roll call, please.
Councilors O'Neill,
Yes. Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Sasla,
Yes.
Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Rosagno,
Yes.
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 Gravel,
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
The next Brooksby Farm item request was to move an amount of $64,000 from their revolving account to capital equipment for the purposes of purchasing a new 2014 Chevy 4500 refrigeration truck, which would allow the wholesale group to transport the food materials to the various sites. That motion was approved unanimously, and the motion was to move $64,000 from Brooksby Farm revolving account 260-000-35603 to capital equipment, which is account 300-09-421-58-506-2018, with 6 zeros following 6620 in the amount of $64,000. So moved.
Heard motion. Roll call, please.
Councilors O'Neill,
Yes.
McGinn,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Sasla,
Yes.
Mitsoulas,
Yes.
Manning Martin,
Yes.
Rosagno,
Yes.
Turco,
Yes.
Melville, Gravel,
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
The next item on the agenda had to do with transfers of funds from the Community Preservation Act. The first transfer that was requested was a request to move $11,000 from the Community Preservation Act open space to Community Preservation Act, a Peabody Dog Park. After some discussion, the motion was made and approved unanimously. The actual request was to move from account number 270-0000-33-021, an amount of $11,000 to the Community Preservation Act Peabody Dog Park, account number 270-0181-158-562-2018-0375 in the same amount. So moved.
Heard motion. Roll call.
Councilors O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Matsoulis. Manning Martin.
Yes.
Rosignol.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
Melville.
Yes.
Gravel.
Yes.
Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
The next item in that request, which had some questions that could not be answered, were to move an amount of $19,600 from the Community Preservation Act Housing Fund to create a community development housing production plan. There was a number of questions, so the motion was made to defer this action to the next Finance Committee meeting and to request that the Director of Community Development, along with any subordinate support that he would need to provide information to the council as requested at this subcommittee meeting, inclusive of how this can be done internally, or if it can be done internally, as well as the content of the plan and its purpose. So we deferred that by motion.
Heard the motion. I don't believe we need roll calls. Just all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Thank you.
And the last item on the agenda that we took up this evening was an item for a motion for a capital request, moving some funds to capital equipment within the cemetery department. There's a lot of pages on the previous request, sorry. That was the cemetery sale of lots and graves. Basically, the request was to move $65,000 from the sale of lots and graves to capital equipment. The request was made by the superintendent of cemeteries. The funds are requested for a new Toro mower, utility dumpster, jackhammer, and some other repairs and renovations. There was no real discussion on the issue because everybody understood exactly what it was that they were looking for. And the motion was made, and it was unanimously supported by the committee to take $65,000 from sale of lots and grave, account 270-33006, and move it to cemetery capital equipment, account 300-04910, in the same amount. So moved.
Heard motion. Roll call, please.
Councilors O'Neill.
Yes.
McGinn.
Yes.
Gould.
Yes.
Sasla.
Yes.
Matsoulis.
Yes.
Manning Martin.
Yes.
Rosignol.
Yes.
Turco.
Yes.
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 Charist.
Yes.
Motion carries 11-0.
The last item on the agenda was deferred to the next, or to another Finance Committee meeting. I would just remind councils that we have a meeting of the Finance Committee, meeting as a committee of the whole on June 7th, which is next Thursday evening, for the purpose of discussing the budget. I will not receive the budget tonight under suspension at all. We are merely saving ourselves postage and delivery time by leaving it on your desk. If you choose not to take it from your desk and would like it delivered to your home, please let the clerk know and they will have it delivered. Thank you.
Thank you. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor O'Neill.
I understand that. Can I just jump back
Sure.
to Councilor Gravel? Councilor Gravel, you're mentioning that the FY 2019 budget is on our table, and that's what you're scheduling for is June 7th, correct?
I have a scheduled committee of the whole for June 7th under the Subcommittee of Finance for the purpose of reviewing the budget.
Okay. And then were you also referencing this Peabody Public Schools 2019 budget that is also left here for us?
Yes, all the budgets are left on your desk.
Okay. Could I just talk about the 2019 school budget that's been left here?
We wouldn't be able to unless we receive it and discuss it.
Okay, but I thought you just referenced it if you don't want it to leave it. Okay. It's
No.
just not in the, it's just not in the format. If we're to discuss this on June 7th, which is next week, it's not in the format that we've ever received it in. As I'm sure you've noticed, there's no student enrollment projections, there's no vision, there's no no explanation to
Just to help you out on that, we will be discussing the city side budget on the 7th, and we will also, under consideration that night, you can certainly bring that up and require that for the following week that you get all of the materials. I didn't want to receive it under suspension. We've made a point that we don't want to receive things on our desk. But I did tell Tim if he could have a copy available on your desk to save us the trouble of delivering it by the police, that would be fine.
Thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it very much, and I'm quite confident that the school department will give us more information than what's been provided here tonight in preparation for our hearing. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Just a point of information, as Councilor Gravel is pointing out to me, it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks for the 7th. Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I, through you to Councilor Gravel, I understand the sensitivity to the late communication issue, but if we don't receive it tonight, when will we receive it? Because if we're going to take it up...
It'll be a delivered packet, just like it would normally be. Any other regular agenda item will come in a delivered packet. So this is just in lieu of delivering it to you. So it'll come to your house and then you'll receive it. It'll be in committee at that point in time. We don't need to actually receive the budget prior to putting it into committee because it's by charter, it actually goes into committee automatically.
That's logical. Thank you.
Back to Councilor O'Neill. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Gould.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you to Tim. Tim, can you sent us an email and it was very succinct, and can you just in general remind us that we meet the 7th, the 14th, the 28th?
Yes, June 7th, we have a finance sitting as the committee of the whole. We'll receive the overview from the mayor and review the city side. So that'll be an all-night affair. June 14th, we have a regular meeting. Prior to the regular meeting, we have the finance committee will review the education budget. And we also have an executive session scheduled to do with the Verizon lawsuit. June 14th hearing, there's a bunch of hearings on, but the two main hearings is the medical marijuana special permits on for June 14th. June 28th will be another busy night, regular meeting. A lot of hearings scheduled. We have two. We have the recreational marijuana zoning amendment, and we have the Verizon poll petitions coming in that night. And just as an FYI, June 21st is the planning board hearing on the recreational marijuana. That's it in a nutshell.
Tim, thank you.
Okay, again, this is our city clerk, great at work, having all these dates, all these things right off the top of his head. We are so lucky to have Tim here. Councilor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to request that the Department of Public Services repair the damaged curb at corner of 22 Antrim Road and Ann Drive. So moved.
Heard a motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Nothing further. Thank you.
Councilor McGinn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Under suspension of the rules, move to receive item 7A and approve all papers being in order. So moved.
Heard a motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. No further motions.
Councilor Gould.
No motions, Mr. President.
No motions, Mr. President.
Councilor Mitsoulas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have three motions here. One is to receive item 8B. That's from Adam Buckley, the Assistant City Solicitor, regarding information on taxi cabs. I'd like to receive it and refer it to the Committee on Taxi Cabs. So moved.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Mitsoulas.
And the other one is 8C, and that's a request from Attorney Kelty to turn North Central Street, a portion of it, into two-way, and I'd like to receive that and refer it to Public Safety also, Mr. Chairman.
Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
And the other one is item 9C I'd like to receive, and that is a request from St. Vasilia's Church to hang a banner. I'd like to receive it and approve. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
That's it.
Councilor Manny Martin.
Motions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Councilor Rosenau.
No motions, thank you.
Councilor Turco.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive item 7C under the suspension of the rules.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive and approve item 9A, junk dealers license renewals for Alchemy Collectibles, 40 Lowell Street, Suite 12, Elite Design and Consign, 101 Lynn Street, and Ginger's Closet, 101 Lynn Street. All papers being in order.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to receive item 9E and refer to executive session, which I believe is in 2 weeks.
Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two motions. The fence belonging to the city of Peabody at the rear of 29 and 31 Griffin Road, which abuts MacArthur Park, is in horrid condition, barely standing. So I'm wondering if I can send a motion to Public Services to replace the fence at the rear of those two properties, 29 and 31 Griffin Road.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Thank you, Mr. President. And also 9 Sarah's Way, the sidewalk to the left side of the house. It's actually not there. The curbing is there, but there's no asphalt within the curbing. So if we could have DPS fix that sidewalk at 9 Sarah's Way. Thank you.
Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
That's all, Mr. President. Thank you.
Councilor Melville.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I just, I know that there was, the city has announced the Memorial Day events, and just as a reminder to all the folks watching at home and anybody here that this weekend is the Memorial Day events will be held tomorrow starting at 9 a.m. at Cedar Grove Cemetery. We'll begin the flagging of all the veterans' graves. It's a nice little event if you want to take part in if you're in the area. And then Sunday morning at St. Adelaide will be at 8:30 a.m. is a mass. It's also a nice event if you're in that area as well. Then followed up by a number of dedications throughout the city. One being at Pierpont Street, corner of Pierpont and Maine. There will be for Ralph Jonas. That will be at 11:30 a.m. And then along with a number of events culminating with the parade that starts at 11 a.m. and ending here at City Hall. I would encourage anybody that would like to take part. One great thing we do here in Peabody is different dedications throughout the city. So if you see people gathered at a location and you want to stop by, it's really it's worth it just to see the names, the ages of those people at that time. It's an important thing as well. We always say we want to remember forever. We'll always remember their sacrifice. I think It's telling, and it's important that we do that. So I would highly recommend that to folks. You'll feel good afterwards. And I have no other motions. Thank you.
Councilor Gravel.
I'm going to defer for 1 second and allow Councilor Sasslaw to make a motion that he wanted to make.
Thank you, Councilor Gravel. Yes, I'd like to receive item 9B, all papers being in order, approve the block party request.
You heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gravel.
Thank you. I would like to make a co-motion with my friend Councilor Turco to have the city tree department head to the end of Linfield Street at the corner of Linfield and Casco. There's a debate over who owns that tree on the corner that's dead, and Lynn claims they don't own it, and nobody knows if Peabody owns it, but it sits on the roadway. It's on the berm or on the side of the road, on the side of the sidewalk. And I've had a request from the resident there to take a look at, having that tree removed before it falls down. But again, nobody knows. So I'd like to have the tree department go down and determine who actually owns that tree. If we own it, and I'd like it to be we take it down. If not, they could contact Lynn and have Lynn take it down, but somebody should take it down. So moved.
On that motion, would you like correspondence to either to you or Councilor Turco? Does it matter?
It could be to both of us. Thank you.
That motion. Heard the motion. Heard the motion. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Councilor Gravel.
Yes, I'd also like to it's not a motion, but it's, well, actually, I have another motion and kind of combined, but we have, been working with the sound system, and I know we've had some difficulties with it. Through the event that happened last week, we discovered why we have some of the difficulties with it. It's, one, there's been a lot of manipulation of the switch up above, and this whole sound system is programmed against the little plate that's on the side, the Crestor plate. When they adjust that top thing, if somebody fools around with the top and then that tries to make the adjustments again, it causes a problem. So we really need to make sure that we keep people out of the box in the back and just keep them focused on that in the front. Also, we learned that proximity of the mics to, especially the holding mic, if you keep the mic a certain distance away, we lose that ripple effect that occurs from being up too close like this. And the third thing we learned that night was that the entertainment quality for the screen is programmed in such a way that it fills the auditorium with sound. When you're doing a dual presentation like we were doing, you have to switch back to the presentation mode and get out of the entertainment mode, and then everything will correct itself. And I think we did that on the fly that night. So I just wanted to, I have asked Signet to come back in and help us with tuning and help us further understand, because it's really, the equipment's only as good as the operators. and if we know more about it, then I think it'll be better for us. So I wanted to provide that as an update. I also wanted to thank all of you for coming to the Legacy event. We had 240 attendees that night, and many of you were here. And it was the one remark, or many remarks that I got from people in attendance, with they were absolutely thrilled to see that many elected officials together supporting education. I thought that made a great statement for this council. So I wanted to say thank you on behalf of the PBD Ed Foundation for you doing that. And the last thing, I would like to make a motion that we get an update on the finishing of this auditorium. We've got the sound system. We now know the AV system works great. We were able to do projection up there. We can do high definition. We can have movie nights. I think for the rest of the council to know,
Northeast Arc is in the process of hiring a joint Main Streets and venue coordinator. This is considered one of the venues that they would want to coordinate for events, make it a community space. It would certainly be nice if we can finish this. And I don't know what the delay has been or why, but we're coming to the summer again. We were told last summer it was going to be worked on, which is the ceilings and the repainting, and somehow that didn't happen. So I know the money's there. I'd like to get that done, and then if additional funds are required, go to the CPC to get the finish taken care of so we can finally put this auditorium into its right perspective. So the motion is to get an update and to find out if additional funds are required. If so, we'll put in an application for CPC to help us fund it. So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Council Gravel? Council Gravel, I can promise you I will not touch any of those knobs back there because I'm not sure that they were even there. But would you like to have a motion made that a protective plate or guard is put on that switch?
I don't think we'd be able to because they bought an open rack, and that's the problem. There's an open rack back there. You'd have to go to a closed rack. But I just think as long as people know not to touch it, and when, you know, when somebody's doing a setup here, like for a concert and such, unless they have a sound engineer, and even then, there's not a lot of need to touch that device because you can control volume and all the acoustics through the panel. So I think whoever's, you know, whether it be Mary, Tim, or anybody else, just, you know, telling people stay away from the box in the back, let it be, and I don't think we'll have any problems with it at all.
Councilor Guerrero, thank you. Will you finish? Thank you. I have actually no motions, but just a couple FYIs. Just let everyone know that the Garden Club has stepped up and is working on the Memorial Park for Alex Vitale. That's starting to get cleaned up. We're getting people to volunteer. Malden Catholic School is volunteering with their students to do some cleanup. Again, the Garden Club is arranging volunteers of plants and material to be used. The city is stepping up to do their part. So just giving a little bit of FYI that park is going to be hopefully completed in the next few weeks. The other FYI is King Street. I've contacted I've been continuing in contact with the owner of that project. It is in an area of, right now, of going back and forth with architects and people of that nature of their proposal. So I just wanted people to know that that is still on my agenda and constant communication with them. I did ask them to do some work on the grounds. Some of the grounds has been neglected and not cut. They know that, so they will be getting to that soon, and hopefully we'll be looking at a proposal from them. The other thing I wanted to point out, today I was fortunate enough to be at a recognition of the YMCA North with being recognized, Dave and Kathy Gravel and their company, their workers. One of the things Dave did do was to point out all his employees who were there, that he continued to say it was a team. And it's so refreshing to see somebody like that. But again, another recognition by the Metro North YMCA for the partnership that Dave and Kathy does with them. I just want to say, Councilor Gould, he's catching up to some of the recognitions that you've been getting. So I guess the rest of us need to step up our game too. But I just want to say congratulations on behalf of the council to Dave and Kathy and your team. You're welcome. With that being in order, John Turco, please. Councilor Turco, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I neglected to let you all know, next Thursday, May 31st, 6 p.m., Metro Bowl was nice enough to let me use one of their community rooms there for a neighborhood meeting regarding the subdivision, Stonegate subdivision off of Linfield Street in Bartholomew, the 24 houses. Letters went out to abutters about that neighborhood meeting, which the developer and the landowner, Warren Ennis and DiBiase Construction, will both be there to address neighborhood concerns. and then that goes before the planning board on June 7th, the same day as budget, so I'm going to have to figure that one out. But if anybody's interested in attending, May 31st, 6 p.m., Metro Bowl. Thank you.
Councilors, anyone? Just want to wish everyone a happy Memorial Day, and thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Gravel, can you finish up our 7B?
7B is
7B is done. 7A.
move to receive and approve, subject to all papers being in order.
You heard the motion, all approve, any opposition? It's a vote. 8A?
8A, Mr. President, motion to receive and, motion to receive. 8A.
You heard the motion?
Please. 8G, I'm sorry.
G. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote. Aye. 8 aye.
8 ayes, motion to receive and set up a public hearing.
Heard the motion, all approve. All in favor? Any opposed? It's a
9D, Mr. President.
all in favor? Any opposed? It's a vote.
Motion to adjourn.
Heard the motion.
You did say.
9D. We said 9D.